What's going on, YouTube? So you don't need me to tell you that the Ford Explorer has long been a big name in the family SUV market.
So it makes sense that this heavily refreshed Explorer was the first Ford that we've gotten to live with for a full 7 days.
So after having it in our lives, do we think this should be at the top of your family SUV shopping list? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Now, starting out under the hood for our spec dump, this has two powertrains. One is a very powerful powertrain, which is what we have. A 3-liter twin turbocharged V6 engine producing 400 horsepower. This is paired to a 10-speed automatic transmission, and our combined fuel economy is 21 mpg.
Now the base price for the Ford Explorer is $39,000 this year, and if you're looking to buy a Ford Explorer or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now this is a 7-day review, which means we have some special elements. We're going to be getting our real-world fuel economy and telling you what that's like after a week. We'll also be getting our official Kentucky Sound level reading, and at the end of the video, we'll discuss if we like it better, the same, or worse after living with it this week.
But it's time to go ahead and close up the hood because we said this is refreshed, which means we have a lot of changes to the exterior as well as the interior. So when it comes to the overall front design, Ford certainly did a lot of work to make this look new for 2025. One of the big things they did was change the overall shape of the grille to be a little bit boxier and larger. We've got the gloss black finish on board and Explorer branding across the top for this ST trim level, which is one of your sportiest trim levels in the lineup. Now, in terms of our lighting, you will notice that we have a new lighting cluster. This is a full LED unit across all trim levels. We have reflector LEDs except for on the platinum trim level. So unless you go all the way to the top, you're going to get the reflector LEDs. That being said, in our experience with it this week, they are pretty darn bright and light up quite nicely. And then down below, you also have LED fog lights on most trim levels, which double as cornering lamps. Now, in terms of our back design, we have some pretty minor tweaks, but I think they overall make a big difference.
Yeah, really the main element that they have changed would be for your lighting back here, and I think it's a pretty big improvement. So I'm going to have Drew go ahead and hop inside so we can check out those tail lights and see exactly what's new and how premium they are. So one of the things we like to do is see if all the tail light elements are LED. As you can see, we have an LED brake light, turn signal, and LED reverse light. All of your accenting is also going to be LED. And that's actually standard across the board, so that's a really nice premium touch that Ford's including. We also have a wiper and spoiler up top. As we drop down to the lower fascia, this is going to be finished in a matte black plastic. Also, really spicing up the design is the fact that we have quad exhaust outlets. That's going to be included if you get a V6 Explorer, and I'm really happy to see that, definitely. As far as your tow rating, 5,000 pounds regardless of which engine you select.
Rolling on to the wheels, you have choices between 18 and 21-inch alloys, depending on which trim level you choose. This ST gets the largest size, a 21-inch alloy. It's got a new look for 2025, kind of a multi-spoke with a dark gray finish. And then peeking out behind there, we have some red accented brake calipers, since these do have performance brakes, versus the other trim levels. You've got some thin cladding that runs around the wheel arches as well as the lower part of the body, a gloss black finish for our mirrors, and in terms of the features, the top trims are going to be fully loaded, so you do have blind spot monitoring, heating, power folding, and auto dimming on the driver's side.
Now at the side of the Explorer, the overall vehicle length is about 199 inches long, which kind of places it right in the middle of the pack in terms of length. And one of the cool things about this vehicle is that it is based on a rear drive architecture, so it does have that unique rear drive proportion. Additionally, we do have some raised roof rails up top. And then let's talk about our safety systems for the Explorer. Now, as far as that area is concerned, Ford has improved that because we have actually every single safety system as standard equipment, including adaptive cruise control. Additionally, Ford is offering Blue Cruise as a new feature to the Explorer this year, which certainly I'm happy to see in a family vehicle like this. Additionally, if you really want to spice up your overall design, Ford is also offering a pretty pricey option of a two-tone roof. It's about $5,000. Don't ask me why it's so expensive, but you can get that if you would like to spice up the overall look. But there are arguably more changes on the inside, so let's dive into that. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from sound level readings to cargo measurements, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. Now it's time to check out the interior. First, here's our key fob. This is your typical Ford branded key fob. You've got ST though on the back of this one. Smart entry is standard. Remote starts on almost all of the trim levels. And getting inside, just grab behind the handle, that will unlock the door and fold the mirrors outward. Well guys, take a look inside this interior. Like we've been kind of alluding to, there's a lot more changes to the interior than the exterior, and I think that's certainly a good thing. But before we get into those individual details, we'll start off by talking about our seats. So there's going to be a variety of different materials that you can get depending on which trim you choose, beginning with cloth seats, moving to leatherette, and then you also have real leather on your top platinum trim level. This being the ST means that we have a leatherette trimmed seat, but most of the center section is finished in a suede. This, of course, is just going to hold you in place a lot better when you're driving aggressively. And I like the overall feel of these seats. They're quite comfortable, and the stitching details look good. Now down below, you'll notice that the seats themselves have ample ways of adjustment. We've got 12 ways of adjustment and two-way lumbar support. And then one of the big features about this is that we have massaging on board, which is certainly a very cool feature to have on your top spec models in addition to your memory seats. But let's go ahead and get inside. Now getting the door closed up, let's look at the rest of the cabin materials. This is a place where Ford spent a lot of time just kind of elevating the overall experience across the entire trim structure. Now the top model, the Platinum with the Ultimate package, is going to be a little bit elevated above this ST model, and we do have a review on the channel of that if you want to check it out. But in terms of this model, we're still looking at big improvements. So you've got leatherette across the armrest and across the center section. We have a textured kind of faux aluminum all through the center section and soft touch plastic along the top. Moving to the upper dash, this is finished in a soft touch plastic. We now have through the center a cloth trim, and that's because this is actually kind of a speaker grill, so it almost looks like a sound bar that goes across the middle there. More of the faux aluminum, more stitched leatherette that kind of curves through here, and more of that runs down the center tunnel, nicely padded as well. Everything feels more solid than it did previously. Let's go ahead and fire it up with the push button start. So jumping into some individual features here, we'll begin with our gauge cluster. As you can see, we've got the 12.3-inch digital cluster. This is reconfigurable with some different graphics and design changes that you can make through there. One thing I do want to point out, though, is that we don't have a head-up display. Certainly would like to have one. Now, pulling back to the steering wheel, ST gets a little bit of a sportier design to this steering wheel. Leather wrapped with the color contrast stitching. It is actually power tilt and telescoping as well. And we have rain sensing wipers and heating. Now, turning over here to our storage area, let's take a look inside and see how much space we have in this Explorer. Obviously, as a family SUV, it's very important that we have ample space, including for stuffed donuts. So this, of course, is how we measure the volume here at Car Confections. And inside the center console, we easily pass the dozen donut test because it has 17 donuts inside. Pretty good for this segment for sure. And there are some additional storage cubbies, including a little bit right here. 2 cup holders, press that button, and under that cover is actually a pretty deep pit there with some additional USB connections. And then you have a storage shelf where you can charge your phone on one side and set another phone right next to it. Of course, the shifter itself, typical Ford rotary shifter, doesn't take up much space. Twist over to D for drive. You can press the M as well if you want to shift manually, and you have paddle shifters right there on the steering wheel. Heading into reverse, here's our 360-degree camera system. So this is the upgraded version on the higher end trim levels. As you can see, you have that overhead view and a few different views you can choose between. Although I will say that the resolution itself is a little crunchy compared to many of the rivals. Of course, you have your electronic parking brake located right there, and you also have a drive mode controller. And then as we move above here, one of the last kind of physical controls that you have inside this cabin is our volume knob. So this has a 14-speaker Bang & Olufsen premium sound system on the ST and the Platinum grades. Let's go ahead and give it a sample though. That strangely dramatic sound sample there definitely demonstrates that this is a very powerful sound system. We were really impressed with this over the last week. We have been in everything in this segment, and this is one of the very best sound systems you can get in a mainstream midsize 3-row. All right, let's move on to this big display. So this is a big change for 2025. Of course, they used to have that weirdly oriented display. Now it's a more conventional look. It's also a lot larger than before. It's a little over 13 inches. The big things, though, that you need to know are, first of all, the climate controls are actually inside the display. So we've got 3-zone climate. It's going to run all across here. There's no physical controls at all for this. So in terms of, let me just kind of power it on, show you what it looks like. When you make your temperature adjustments, the little buttons there, they're kind of on the smaller side. I do feel that it takes a little bit of focus to make that while you are driving. That being said, it's pretty responsive. You also have your heated and ventilated seat controls inside of there, both of which are automatic, and that's where you locate your heated steering wheel. Now, the other thing you need to know about this display is that this is running Ford's new digital interface. So it's a digital experience interface is what it's called. And it's a big change from Sync 4, way more responsive. It's got a new Google-based foundation, so you have things like Google Maps built natively right into the system itself. You also have things like your Google Assistant and your Google Play Store. And as you can see, just everything here is super nice and responsive. You do also, of course, have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay as well if you don't want to use the native system, and both of those do run wirelessly. Now up above we have an auto dimming mirror. HomeLink remotes are located in the visor itself. And then I'll go ahead and slide back the expected panoramic sunroof on your higher end examples. As you can see, the sunshade, nice thick design that blocks out the light. It's a little slow to slide back, but the front panel of the sunroof does open up.
All right, so let's dive into the rear seat area for this Ford Explorer. That's, of course, a very important part of any family 3-row. And as far as this area, I'm very happy because we have quite a bit of space. We're sitting at about 38 inches of both legroom and headroom, which means for someone who is 5'9" like myself, I do have certainly plenty of space in this rear seat area. And as far as how much additional knee room I have 5'9", and this seat is adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8". We're looking at about 9.5 inches of knee room, and my feet can easily slide up underneath of the seat. Now, speaking of the seats, I do want to point out that they slide forward and back a very good distance. They also do have a really nice reclining function, so you can go back a decent amount, not a ton, but a decent amount. Additionally, if you choose a Platinum or the ST, so your upper end models, you're going to come standard with the captain's chair setup. That means overall seating capacity on this model is 6-passenger. Of course, you can also get bench seating on other versions. That is going to give you 7-passenger seating as a maximum. As far as here in the center, we also have our own climate controls. It is a 3-zone setup, so you can adjust your own temperature back here, although I'm not seeing a specific temperature adjustment here in the rear. Additionally, if you choose the ST line and above, so that's actually one of the lower end trim levels, you're going to get the 2-stage heated back seats. That's a really nice feature to have on actually a lot of the Explorer models. Down below that, 2 USB-C ports, as well as a household outlet. And then we have this little thing that pops down that gives you 2 additional cup holders. Just be aware that these are not very big cup holders, so it's certainly not going to fit like a Stanley water bottle. It would fit a normal water bottle, though. Over on the door trim, you will notice Rear window sunshades, that's certainly a nice feature to also be included on most of the models. We have soft touch plastic on the upper part, leatherette through basically the entire center portion, on the armrest as well, and then we have a cup holder in front of that. Once again, a decent sized cup holder, but not massive, and then we have even more storage down below. And let's go ahead and check out the third row in this Explorer. In order to get back here, you just grab that little handle there. That's going to easily slide the seat out of the way. So pretty simple setup. And let's sit back here in the third row and see how much space we are going to find. Well, we're going to have about 32 inches of legroom and about 38 inches of headroom. So really good headroom figures. You can definitely notice that. It seems like there's plenty of room even for someone of my size. The legroom also isn't bad at all. 32 inches is pretty good for this segment. This seat is slid all the way back in its tracks, and I still have a little over an inch of knee room to spare. My feet can also slide up underneath of the seat. Really, the main thing that I'm going to complain about is the thigh support in this Explorer. The overall thigh support is not great, so that's going to kind of ruin your overall comfort, even though there is plenty of legroom and also a good amount of headroom. The thigh support, not so good. Now, when it comes to features, we have vents that are going to come out of the ceiling right here and kind of blow directly on your face. As far as other features, we have a cup holder right here by my left knee. And then our armrest is going to be a hard touch plastic, so keep that in mind. We have 2 USB-C ports on the right side. So overall, as far as how this rates on our third row rating scale, I'm going to say this is fit for the in-laws, mainly because of the thigh support. The space itself is okay, but the thigh support, not so great. Also, there's only going to be 2 seats back here. Now, walking up to the tailgate, Power One is actually included as standard equipment on every single Explorer. Now, as far as the space is concerned, let's dive into that. 16 cubic feet behind the third row of seats, so that's a decent amount of space. If we power fold them down, which we do have a button right here, one single press is going to easily power fold the third row down. That's standard, by the way, on Platinum trims and above. That's going to reveal 46 cubic feet. As a maximum, we are sitting at about 85 cubic feet of space. Now, I do want to point out, if you're cross-shopping and looking in this mid-size 3-row SUV segment, be sure to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. Now, the reason you do that is because we have every mid-size 3-row listed out, and you can sort based on the features that are most important to you. So, for instance, cargo capacity is the most important feature. You can see the best in the segment, and when it comes to that, things like technology, powertrain, drive experience, all of those things are included. So, it can really help you figure out which options might be the best choices for you in the segment. So we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. Now back to the Explorer, like I said, about 85 cubic feet. That is less than some of the biggest options in the segment, but it's a good amount of space overall, pretty much on par with Kia Telluride and Palisade. In order to fold the second row of seats, I do not have handles, so I will have to go up there and do it manually. And now that I've got those seats folded down, as you can see, they are completely flat with the floor. And I'm getting out my tape measure because one of the things we do in all of our Car Confections reviews is get our cargo length, width, and height figures. As far as overall cargo length from behind Drew's 5'8" driving position, expect about 85 inches. From behind the second row of seats, about 46 inches of length. From behind the third row, 18 inches of length. As far as overall opening width, that's going to be about 48 inches. And height is going to be pretty good at about 31 inches tall. If we lift up the floor, there's actually quite a bit of additional space underneath of here, so you can maybe fit some stinky things, maybe diapers, fast food, things you don't want stinking up the cabin. You could put it underneath of the floor. Additionally, Ford is including a spare tire as well. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the Ford Explorer. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a few things, as you can see on the screen right now. We'll also be getting our official Kentucky sound level reading. But first, we need to go ahead and start with the performance, because I think that's going to be an area you're very curious about. Wow. Dang.
Yeah, this is not your run-of-the-mill family SUV, that's for sure, with that type of performance. So of course, you know, we talked about this a little bit at the spec dump. We've got the ST, which really just cranks up the performance on this Explorer with the 3-liter twin turbocharged V6 engine. You know, in this segment, actually just having a V6 is becoming rare, and for this to have the availability of a twin turbocharged V6 with 400 horsepower, 415 pound-feet of torque is really just a, I think, great addition to this lineup that really scratches that performance itch if you're, you know, looking for that.
Yeah, this is really fantastic. The 0 to 60, as estimated by Motor Trend, is 5.3 seconds. And Ford was quick to point out that this is the fastest SUV that can be had for under $60,000. You know, back in the media drive, that was one of their, you know, sticking points for this model. And I do have to agree with them when it comes to performance. This thing really will kind of blow you away with how quick it is. It definitely is, you know, even faster than some of the luxury alternatives in this mid-size SUV space, that's for sure. You know, compared to like an Acura MDX Type S, this is definitely faster.
Yeah, it just really has tons of torque.
All right, but let's talk about what's standard. So what's standard on most versions of the Explorer will be a 2.3-liter turbo 4-cylinder. That's pretty common for the segment. Healthy power numbers on it, though. 300 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque. Of course, this is a pretty big upgrade, over 100 more horsepower exactly, and over 100 pound-feet of torque more on this model. You do get the standard equipment if you choose the ST trim level, not the ST line, ST trim level. You can also option it on to the Platinum as well, which we have also reviewed on the channel if you're interested in checking that out. But the Platinum kind of has, of course, a lot of power just like this, but it's more even to give a luxurious feel to the overall vehicle.
Yeah, quite a bit different about that. So if you are looking at that trim, definitely watch that separate drive. Now, as far as the transmission, we've got a 10-speed automatic on board. This is a nice and smooth transmission. Even though you've got 10 gears, it doesn't seem like it gets confused. If you change your throttle input, it goes ahead and changes the gears quite quickly. Also, like when we were accelerating really hard back there, I noticed that it really snaps off those shifts really fast. You don't have any type of like hesitation even when you're under hard acceleration.
Yeah, as far as how the power is routed to the ground, the pretty cool thing about the Explorer is that this is actually based on a rear drive platform. So you have standard rear drive or available 4-wheel drive. Of course, that's what we have on today's model, and that goes across every single trim level. You can even get a Platinum or an ST with rear drive. So do keep in mind if you live in a colder climate such as this or further up north, you certainly will have to, you know, probably check off the 4-wheel drive option on all the trim levels. And as far as the fuel economy is concerned, let me quickly hit that. You're either sitting at 24, 23, or 21 miles per gallon combined. So the 24 and 23 are for the 4-cylinder with rear drive and 4-wheel drive, and the 21 is for both versions of the 6-cylinder. So overall, not terrible fuel economy by the EPA. Honestly, a lot of the Turbo 4s that a lot of its competition are switching to are also sitting right at that mark, but this has a lot more of a refined V6 experience, so I'm pretty happy with that. As far as our real-world fuel economy, after living with it this entire week, we have not gotten all the miles on it that we want to get on this model to give you, a more, statistically accurate sample. So we'll just go ahead and insert a picture in after we complete our week-long with this vehicle, so you can see how the fuel economy will compare to those EPA numbers.
Certainly very smooth and refined, although they do have quite a lot of sound amplification coming into the cabin.
Yeah, that's for sure. And speaking of sound, let's get our sound level reading. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle it to fan speed 1. The rear climate is completely turned off. So let's see how quiet it is going 55. 57 decibels is what we have settled in at as our official Kentucky sound level reading. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for that official measurement. We don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to other vehicles in this very crowded segment. We can find that at carconfections.com/sound level readings. On our website, we posted all of the sound level readings. And as far as how it compares sound level reading wise, that is going to definitely place it on the louder end of the segment. But do keep in mind there are different versions of this vehicle you can buy, such as the Platinum, which I assume would give you maybe a little bit of a quieter cabin overall. I do hear a little bit of road noise. It's worth noting it's not very windy outside either today, so that should be a pretty accurate sound sample.
Now we're going to kind of go around some corners here because we're on a back road. And this is where I want to talk about dynamics, because especially with the ST version, there's really impressive things going on here. Like Mason was talking about, just kind of the overall performance of this model being based on a rear drive platform just kind of gives you that strong structure, which is going to be great to build off of. When you have the high performance ST, Ford really doubles down on it. So when you go around corners, body roll is very minimal for a large 3-row SUV. I'm also very impressed about just how snappy the handling is. It's very crisp. The steering is super responsive as soon as you go off center. It's got an almost like, dare I say, agile feel for a 3-row SUV. Certainly one of the sportiest things that you can get in this segment.
Yeah. Now, how does that relate to ride quality? Over the past week, we have been living with this vehicle. I certainly love when I'm in the driver's seat. It's a lot of fun to drive this 3-row. It's very different than most other mid-size 3-rows, that's for sure. However, when it comes to ride quality, that's also a little different than most mid-size 3-rows, especially here in the ST model. It is definitely on the firm side. I've said this before about like Mazda products, for instance, in the CX-90. You do have to have some type of trade-off if you want the really good dynamics. A lot of that does come in the ride. You're going to feel a lot of the road imperfections come into the cabin. If you hit a big bump in the road, a lot of that is going to transfer in. The thing I will say about that is, of course, this is the ST. This is the highest end performance model that you can get. So if you don't care as much about performance, don't get this one. Get the Platinum grade. You can still get it with the V6. And from what I gather from Drew and Josh, who experienced that model a couple months back, that actually does have quite a bit better ride quality overall.
Yeah, this is a vehicle where the trim you choose really does make a big difference in terms of that. So definitely, if you're tailored more towards performance, ST is the way to go. If you want more luxury, there's other trims that are going to be a better suit.
Alrighty, and let's get into our slam dunk and airball, which is our favorite and least favorite element about the Explorer. Drew, why don't you go ahead and kick us off with the slam dunk on this model?
The slam dunk is going to be the overall performance. I mean, kind of enough said, basically.
Yeah. It's really good. All right, on the airball side of things, what we are going to say is that for the price, this is one of the pricier options in the segment. Certainly this cabin, while it has been improved, it's still not quite as nice as something like a Telluride or a Palisade fully loaded. A Mazda CX-90 is also going to have a nicer cabin. I'd really like to see some of those bougie elements come down, when it comes to your material quality and things like that. It's just a little bit less than what you'd find in some of the other competitors,
considering that this is one of the priciest options.
And it's a 7-day review, so one of the things we like to do in our 7-day reviews is tell you if we like it better, worse, or the same after living with it. Definitely from my perspective, and I think also Drew's perspective, we really like this a lot better after living with it. And I'm going to say I like it a lot better myself, because the driving dynamics on this ST really kind of sold me on this vehicle. There's some other things to like about it, but the driving dynamics I think are my absolute favorite thing, and it's becoming increasingly rare to have something in this segment that does have that smooth, refined V6 with also really good driving dynamics and plenty of space and practicality inside this cabin. I think it's pretty much one of the only options that you can get at this point, so I definitely liked it a lot better. And let's talk pricing for this Explorer. So like I said at the very beginning, this starts at around $39,000 this year. ST line, 44 grand. Platinum, 52,000. This ST actually has the highest starting price, but do keep in mind it comes standard with the V6. $54,260. If you want one like what we have tested out today, it's going to be sitting around $62,000, so keep that in mind. It does inflate quite a bit when it comes to pricing with all those option packages. Now, if you're looking to buy a Ford Explorer or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation and can help dealers start competing on price. We additionally even have a monthly payment tool if you'd like to check that out. Again, that can be found in our video description, and there's also a pinned comment at the top of this video. But buying a vehicle is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's dive into resale and reliability. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Ford Explorer's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 48.8% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 20.9%. Now, it is worth noting that it's certainly lower than other mainstream brands that you might be looking at, such as Toyota, Honda, Subaru, Mazda, those types of brands, and it's actually a little bit below industry average for all vehicle makes.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several studies on reliability from trustworthy sources and combines them in a way that gives you a more holistic picture. In this regard, Ford is rated below the overall industry average for all vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale value, reliability data, or our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. I also want to point out, if you're looking to buy one of these, the warranty is a 3-year 36,000-mile basic warranty, 5-year 60,000-mile powertrain. Ford does not do complimentary maintenance. And guys, that's going to be it for our 7-day review of this refreshed 2025 Ford Explorer. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which of course we hope you did, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to get the latest car reviews such as this. You're also going to get our 7-day reviews, and you're going to be a part of our Car Confections family, most importantly. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.